G'day guys, I just thought I'd start off with a question today, a question that's in my heart pretty constantly at the moment. What do you do when you've got nothing inside to get up and get out there and do something? What do you do? How do you function when you feel like you've got nothing inside yourself? How do you get up and push through and find, I guess, life when you're not feeling anything inside, you're not feeling life inside you or in your body for whatever reason? For my case, you've been in depression pretty heavily over the last month or two, and it's really getting me down, man. It's hard to get up and get going of a day and hard to do anything that's of value. And I have little bits and pieces here and there, and I talk to people and I still try and function as normally as possible, but it's hard. And I'm sure, I know for 100% fact that some of you guys are in that same situation. Maybe you've been there, maybe you're going there, maybe you're part way there, maybe you're right in there, maybe you're further down than I've been, locked into yourself, locked into your own struggle, locked into your own infirmity, your own injury, your own pain, loss, grief, whatever that might be. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and this was quite inspiring, really. He's a guy who's a bit older than me, maybe about 5 years older than me. A real hard-working man. Lovely man. And recently, in the past 5 years in particular, he's just had this major back issue which has sort of stopped him working, and basically, yeah, it's got worse and worse. So he's had an operation, and as you would know with back operations, they seem to be rarely successful first time in, and so he's gone back for another one after sort of an 18-month break between the two, say. And then he's gone back in and had one, and then two operations, and then he's found out immediately afterwards that he's, through no fault of his own, someone in the hospital or something in the hospital, he's contracted a severe infection. And so he's just spent 25 days in hospital. He's out. He's got a sort of a permanent drip in him with antibiotics going in him and all this sort of stuff. And you're like, man, that's tough, dude. Can't work, basically can't walk around because of this back operation. I said to him, how are you coping, mate? Like, that must be pretty tough. And he said, well, had some pretty dark days in the hospital there. Had a few dark days. He was in an isolation ward, so soundless. You can imagine you're kind of that's stuck in your own head, right? And he said something that really struck me, and he said, well, I made a decision in that time that I wasn't going to let this destroy me or keep me down, that I was going to try and make the best of whatever it was I had going forward. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty amazing, dude. Like, that's huge. And to me, perhaps that was a bit of an answer to the earlier question that I asked right at the beginning of this video. What is it that keeps us going? How do we get up when we've got nothing? What is it that drives us? And I think it's the spiritual part of ourselves, the spirit inside us, God's spirit in us participating. As he said, what else did he say? He said something like, I'm a participant with God, and therefore I must do my part or else nothing's going to happen, in a sense. And we had a fairly lengthy discussion about that as time went on in the phone call yesterday. And I'm just more and more convinced that there's a big role that we need to play if we're going to enact kingdom, if we're going to enact life, if we're going to change anything, firstly in ourselves, secondly into the world around us, into this great expanse here, into the system, into the people we love. If we're going to make a difference in any way, we're going to have to make that decision over and over and over again. I'm not going to let the bastards get me down, if you like. I'm not going to let the sickness, the injury, the pain, the grief, the loss, the tragedy, whatever it is that's afflicting us. I had someone else come to our B&B the other day, and he was saying that they'd lost their house in the bushfires back in, I think, can't remember what he said, 2017 maybe. Got to get up, got to start again, change, different, but got to get up and start again. People have just had massive flooding here. If you can see down there, probably one of the furthest headlands down that way, a friend who shared that they lost 2 dwellings down there, flooded right up to the windowsill, lost everything basically, uninsured. What do you do with that? Like, how do you come back from that? What do you tell yourself to get up in the morning and say, well, you know what? I can stay down. That's what I was talking to my friend about from the hospital, the guy from the flood, the guy from the bushfire. What do you do? stay down. That's an option. I know a lot of people who've had chronic fatigue, as I have chosen to stay down, and it's not a pretty sight when you choose to stay down. I think when you do choose to stay down, everything implodes and keeps getting harder and harder and harder to get back out of. And it can be very, very challenging. The longer you choose to stay down, the harder it is to get back up again, if you like. So maybe for your life at some point here, there's a choice. Maybe it's been an option that's come through. I'm over this. What's the word that you're saying to yourself? I know, I'm done, man. I've had enough of this. I don't want to get up today. Like, I didn't want to get out of bed today, but I also didn't want to stay in bed today. Watching footy, watching some Netflix, nothing going on, just death, really. I've got to get up. I've got to get out. I've got to do something. I've got to make a video. I've got to talk to someone. I've got to actually engage with the world in some way, even though inside me, like, I can tell you, there ain't much in there. There's nothing in reserve there, but you've got to make a choice, don't you, to get up and to engage, or else I think what happens is we become very trapped in ourselves and we get more and more insular, and we forget and we miss the larger story. If you've heard me say this one, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, but the larger story, check it out. In this case, symbolic of the journey of our own lives. We're part of something far bigger than ourselves, and I think it does matter that we get up. I think it matters that my friend Rick gets up out of the hospital bed and says, you know what, I'm going to go on and love people and do whatever I can, even though I can barely walk around. I'm going to love my family, love my children, love my neighbours, etc. This is big stuff. And it was inspirational for me to be talking to him yesterday, and it probably has got me up this morning in a sense, and back onto a video after not doing one for over a week, is that I've got to get up, people. We've got to do something. We've got to move, or else we're going to just, almost like someone who doesn't move from a bed, everything sort of constricts up. So there's physical movement, there's spiritual movement, there's emotional movement, there's movement forward. Are we going to stay in that grief of the loss of a loved one, or are we going to choose to move forward and embrace a new day? Someone is there right now, someone who's watching this video, right there in that space, grieving the loss of a loved one, and you haven't been able to get up, you haven't been able to face another day. I think God's saying to you today, come on, just take another step, just one more step. Love is with you on the journey. You will recover, you will get back up, you will have a brighter day, you will see this again, but you are a participant, you are a co-creator, and you must engage for anything to happen. For anything to happen, we have to engage. We've got to move with the flow of spirit. We've got to move just like this. This here is a river system down here. The river flows out, it flows in with the tide. There's movement constantly going on. It's the same for us. The season of our life, we must move with it. We must move through it. We can't stay there forever. There's a time and there's a place, but then we have to keep moving forward and to take on new ground once again, to step out into the fray, so to speak. So, some food for thought for you guys today. Thank you for journeying with me through this, and whoever's watching and whatever's going on for you, I can feel some of your pain, because man, I'm in a pretty painful place right now, and it's not easy, but we got something. There's still something there, maybe a little bit lower than we've imagined, and we can pull that out, if you like, and call upon that to take us forward and to get back out into our lives. I wish you well on that journey. I pray in a sense, not words, but a sense of hope, and to draw you back into your life, back into the bigger picture of your life, connected to the whole, to the greater. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Talk to you again soon.